All right, so number 97, coming in with 51 total points, we have Kevin Sullivan. He was on JC's list at 96, and he was pretty high on my list at 55. And I love me a little bit of the Taskmaster. The Three Faces of Fear versus the Dungeon of Doom, him doing all of that stuff. It's not saying that it's all good, not saying that it's Hall of Fame worthy stuff, but to me, it's such good shit that I love it. Uh, and just he just did so much good stuff. And the one thing, he was also booking at the time. I felt like I had to add points onto that, just because he was booking and working at the same time. He's very well known for he some of the things that he did prior to our list. He was working with Dusty in Florida as learning how to get heat and all that, and he really brought that to WCW. And the at least matches that a match that I want to put out there is the one with that him and Chris Benoit beat the absolute living tar out of each other on that Bash each. I can't remember. Is that 96?
They had a couple. They had a couple of those matches. There was one San Francisco Death Match from Super Brawl '97.
Yeah, I know that the Bash at the Beach one was the one where they were actually shoot hitting each other because of Nancy. So I personally love that. I thought it's fantastic. He may be, you may think he's a little high on my list, but I just felt because he did the booking and the working at the same time, I had to give him a little bit of his due on that end.
Varsity Club is great because it wasn't the Steiners, it was Rotunda and oh my gosh, Andretti, give me the other one. It was Rotunda, and because they were the varsity boys and he was the evil Satanist that was making them love the devil and not football. Oh my God, I'm on it. I got you, brother.
And that was kind of where I was at too with it. I mean, obviously he played early with, in the Hogan era in WCW. He played a role with that. He was also with the Steiner. Sorry, first day with my new mouth. The Steiner brothers with the Varsity Club, or not? I'm sorry.
So was it Doctor Death and Rotunda?
The end of a long day. My brain's, or is he with Varsity Club? I get it.
Okay, because I knew Rotunda was one of them.
It was Doctor Death, Steve Williams.
I was thinking the WCW run. Anyway, but so not only that as a singles guy, but as like a pseudo manager, and then what really drove him on the list for me was he was in that booking kind of nebulous that they had in WCW's hot years.
I know Mongoose has got the Dungeon of Doom really close to his heart. So you wanna riff a little bit on the Dungeon of Doom?
So I got three things to say really quick. The first one is that upstairs in my drawer is an airbrushed shirt that has Kamala, Shark, and Zodiac on the front, and on the back it says Dungeon of Doom. It says Dungeon of Doom with a heart around it. So that's thing one.
It's one of the best shirts I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Is that a Stash Pages classic?
Yep.
Huge shout out to Stash Pages.
Thing
baby.
two is that the Dungeon of Doom, man. I should also say that it's my fantasy league football team name in the family related to Andretti, whose name rhymes with Flarunic. I'm the Dungeon of Doom in there. My name is the Taskmaster. My image is Kevin Sullivan talking to the Great High Chief, whatever his name was. Those vignettes where Hogan all of a sudden was just in a dark and terrible nether realm. What are we doing, man? Like, I'm 11 and I'm buying it. I'm like, oh my gosh, how did Hulk get here?
All in.
Yeah,
it's all in.
Yeah,
all in.
Yeah, how did he get here, man? Like, what happened? And now, like, I'm looking back and I'm like, so did we send Hulk interdimensionally? Was the dungeon in like deepest, darkest Antarctica? Where was we don't know, man. But all I know is that one dude sat there and just goes, Hogan.
Yeah, it's Prince Iakea's dad, King Iaukea. That's who that was.
Plus the child, man. And so it's just so great. I couldn't think of what they called him whenever I was saying that, so I was avoid saying his name. But him being all just dusty, crusty, just like looked like he was covered in chalk. That was so awesome, man. And so yes, the Dungeon of Doom, it means a lot to me. It really, really does, especially because when you said, John, that you gave him extra points for being the booker, and immediately I was like, oh, John's giving him points for immediately saying, hey, we have Hulk Hogan, let's book him versus the devil, which is what they did, man. They just put Hulk versus Satan. They absolutely, Kevin Sullivan, who renowned, hey, I'm going to play a Satanist guy on TV, was like, you know how we get Hulk over and make money?
He never said that. No, it was just implied.
Implied, right. So you know how we get Hulk over? We have him face Satan. And he went as far as to paint horns on his eyebrows. And for those reasons, man, I do have a lot of respect for Kevin Sullivan. He didn't make my 100 list. Talking about all this, maybe I should have had him in the top 30. Maybe I screwed up here. But the one match that everybody needs to see is the oh my gosh, it's Dungeon of Doom. Give me 1 second. Is it a War Games match on
the Chamber of Horrors?
I think that it's a War Games. Yeah, it's the War Games. And I just want to make sure it's the War Games where all of the baby faces are dressed in fatigues and military stuff, and it's Hogan and it's Luger and it's Sting. So look, man, I don't even know if that match is good. I remembered it being one of the greatest things I ever saw, but it can't be.
I can make it. I can play some.
It can't hold up. But I'm telling you, if you want to smile and have a good time, it was. Let me go see what this War Games was. 95, Fall Brawl 95. There you go. So that's my recommendation. Go watch Fall Brawl 95 and have yourself a good time.
I've got a couple notes here on matches that I watched over recently for Kevin Sullivan. So the San Francisco Death Match is Super Brawl 97. Amazing. I mean, they're all over the arena. There's a really great table spot where Jackie is laying on top of Kevin Sullivan on a table, and Benoit jumps off the top rope and crushes both of them, and the table doesn't break. It just kills both of them. And I laughed out loud at that. But there's a match.
I am the table.
Yeah, speaking of Fall Brawl, there's a Fall Brawl 94 loser leaves town match between him and Cactus Jack. I mean, look, man, Kevin Sullivan throws Cactus Jack off the top rope to a cement floor where the padding is removed, and then goes over and picks him up and body slams him on top of it again, which was unbelievable. And then later on, Cactus Jack tries to pile drive him on the cement, and Kevin Sullivan backdrops him onto the cement. And I'm just sitting here like, what the hell are we doing right now with this? The match I really want to bring up, this is unbelievable. I watched this last night for the first time, I think, ever. Starrcade 94, Kevin Sullivan versus Mr. T. Mr. T is wearing a referee outfit for some reason, and like an old-timey nightcap that is also striped like a referee shirt, right? I have no idea why that is.
Like Ebenezer Scrooge.
Like Ebenezer Scrooge.
I love it.
And like,
I
dude,
love
it certainly helps financially to be friends with the Hulkster at that point.
That's how I like to picture my Mr. T is dressed like Ebenezer Scrooge about to meet the spirits.
Dude, at one point, Mr. T is on the outside of the ring just laying on top of the cameraman for no reason. And the cameraman is just on his back holding the camera. And it's just unbelievable. I laughed out loud when I saw that. There's a part in that match where they're fighting on the outside. Kevin Sullivan leans back to hit Mr. T, and a fan in the front row grabs his hand to stop him from hitting Mr. T. And I popped to the freaking moon. And then Mr. T wins that match when Santa Claus interferes. And I'm not going to give you any more details than that. Santa Claus interfered in the match, and that was it.
Wow.
But I also want to say about that show, about that Starrcade '94. That show opens with Duggan and Vader, and also on that card, Alex Wrong and Triple H.
Wow.
Dude.
So I want to do one thing before we move on. I want to have a shout out to Leia Meow, who it's a perfect segue into our next number on this because she worked in ECW. But to fact check my own thoughts earlier, he was indeed with one of the Steiners in the varsity club when he first came to JCP. So he was working with with Rotunda and Rick Steiner. So it was at the beginning of Rick Steiner in JCP around 87 or so. And then they reformed it, and this is how I knew it, because I watched an episode of WCW, later run WCW, when they reformed it with Leia Meow, aka Kimono Wanalea, which is potentially one of the greatest names ever in ECW history. So wanted to fact check myself. I knew I was right about that in some capacity.
No, and I saw that. And here was the thing with me with early WCW, late JCP, I wasn't watching it, right? I didn't see it. I didn't know. And so my earliest WCW was Saturday night. And then I would buy the NWA WCW tapes on pay-per-view. And so the earliest ones that I could remember had the Steiner brothers. And the only reason that I knew that Rotunda was a varsity club person was that I would listen to the Observer shows where they would review the old NWA shows. And I remembered Rotunda. And when you said that, and the more that I thought about it, Steiner was certain, because Steiner was in first. Scott wasn't there. Rick was there first, and Rick was supposed to be the big guy, and then Scott ended up coming in and having all the charisma. So yes, so we one hand washes the other, and both hands wash the face.
There you go. That's
Please
right.
go and watch Super Brawl '96, Pillman versus Sullivan. Pillman's last match in WCW. This is the beginning of the loose cannon angle. It's an I quit match instead of I quit. It's a respect you match. And Pillman picks up the microphone and says, "I respect you, Booker Man," which completely breaks kayfabe, enters into the fourth wall, all that other stuff. Iconic moment in wrestling history. So if you don't know, now you do. Check out Pillman versus Sullivan, Super Brawl '96.